Good evening. Welcome to another video. Thank you very much for following us up until now, and we'll continue our training from where we stopped. So in the last video, we began looking at the 3D and manipulation tools, and we looked at push-pull, which helps us to extrude faces to create 3D forms, offset, which copies edge to create outlines or inset, our move tool that moves, copy, or distort selected entities. All right. So I didn't quite illustrate all the functions of these tools. Some of them are left for like a more advanced explanations because some of them will not make sense to you until some time in the class. So, but it's fine. I'll still explain those functions as the need arises. All right, so the rotate is a rotate or copy an entity by specifying the rotation center, the start point, and degrees. That's the angle. All right, then flip, what it does is to invert to rear end or mirror selection. Then finally, what we'll be dealing with in today's class is the tape measure tool, which measures distance, or you use it to create a guideline, or you use it to scale a model. All right. So then the last thing we'll be looking at in this class is the paint bucket for assigning materials and color. Or is that okay? That's the last tool we'll be practicing. I'll just go ahead to explain the remaining tools, but we'll be doing with this only in this video. All right. So before I go ahead, one of the other things I would like to state is that the paint bucket works with shapes that are already drawn. So I'll just go ahead and draw a shape and push that up, just to illustrate a paint bucket. All right, so the tape tool, like we said, it's for measuring distance. If you remember during one of the tools, I think the line tool also, while I was doing my illustration, I made use of the tape tool just to check how much or how far something is. So I click so to measure a distance is very simple. Click, then click, or click and drag, then release, whichever you want to do. So I just drew a random rectangle. I didn't measure it. I didn't give it an accurate dimension. So, but I wanted to just, put this in to know what is the width from here, the length from here to here. So I could just click at this point and then I leave my mouse at that point. If I look to my lower right, suddenly you see at my lower right, the size or the dimension or the measurement of what I just did. All right. So if I want to know the length from here to here, I click and then I put my mouse here and you see that's a different length. All right. So, but if I wanted to create a guideline, I click from here and I click to some point along the line and it creates a guide. Now, when I click from this point, I end it here. It doesn't create a guide for me. All right. What it does, it does a measurement. That's if I do it to the very end. Vertex to vertex doesn't create a guide. So if I click on a vertex or I click on a line and I end it somewhere, all right. Sorry. If I click on a line and I end it somewhere, it doesn't do that as well. So if I click on a start point and I click somewhere else, then all right, so the tape measure tool, what it does is, now different tools have different modes. I didn't explain this earlier, but different tools have different modes and you can toggle between their modes. For example, if you look at the tape measure tool, if I were to click, press the Control key, you would notice that there's on the bottom part of your screen, you can see the full description of the tools going on down there. So if I click on Control, it toggles to create guide or not. So if you look at the icon of the tape tool on my cursor, you see it has a guideline or a guidelines icon showing on it. If I click on Control, it disappears. So what that means is when I click and drag without that thing, what it does is it measures. All right, it just measures the distance. All right, that's what that does. Then if I press Control once, it toggles between measurement and creating guides. All right, so now if I click on a vertex or an edge or a point, sorry, if I click on a point and drag out to any length, it creates a guideline from that point along to that point. If I click on this vertex and I drag along here, it create a guideline to this point. So easily I could just measure down to this point and then use from there and draw something down, stuff like that. We'll do an illustration using all the tools very soon. So majority of the tools, not necessarily all. All right. So with that being said, you see how the guideline works. So if I come back to the guideline with the create guide active, once I click on a line, all right, remember the first time I clicked on a vertex or a point, it creates a guide from the point to wherever I stop. But when I click on a line, it creates a very long or endless line along the axis of that line. So once I click here and drag, immediately you notice there's a line that comes out. That's an edge or a line guideline. All right, that's a line guideline. The other one is a vertex guideline or point guideline, but this one is a line guideline. It draws a line using the axis, the direction of the edge in question. So I could pull that down, I could pull it up, I could pull it to the side, I could just go, but it locks it onto that plane. All right. So, and this is very useful when you're doing a lot of modeling, you'd like to have different things like that. So I could pull another guideline here, and I could pull another guideline here. I could pull another guideline from here forward. I could pull another one from here. I could pull one from here. You see how you could quickly create guides. And the good thing about guides is when you have guides, you can just quickly pick up your pen tool and start drawing things with your guidelines. All right, weird stuff on the air, but this is how beautiful guidelines can be. It helps you create accurate drawings, weird accurate drawings. All right, I could just from here to this point, and I could just push that down. See how accurate and weird all those things are. So I'm just showing you the weirdness so that you understand how free form you could model. All right, so take note of that. So that's that for the guideline. And then what the paint bucket does, it's just for pouring colors. All right, so we'll deal with that more in the material. But a face, you can just click on it, you select your material or your color, and you click on the face to pour in the paint there. All right, so that's practically what the paint bucket does. All right, so nothing too fancy for now, but when we get to that part where we start touching materials and stuff like that, we could just go ahead and deal with different of these tools and see how we could build something beautiful with it. All right, thank you very much. If you like the video, like, share, and subscribe to help the algorithm. All right, so catch you in the next video.